Hi, I'm Park Howell, and welcome to the Business of Story, where purpose-driven people like you learn how to craft and tell compelling stories to grow your revenue and amplify your impact. If you would like to clarify your story in under 30 minutes, visit me at businessofstory.com, because you gotta own your story to grow your brand.
I thought it was just a stupid picture of a pig in the ocean. But after hearing that story, I had to have it. Now I wasn't just buying a picture. I was buying a story. Story literally made the picture worth more money to me.
That's what businesses are about. People buy brands. People buy stories much more than anything else.
I work with a lot of big enterprise companies, but let's just say I always tell folks, drop the PowerPoint, close your laptops, start with your story.
If you want people to get engaged and you want people to act, you have to tell them an emotionally powerful story. That's with great characters, it's with uncertain outcomes, and it's with high stakes and drama.
All business strategy is a story.
Welcome to Business of Story. I'm Park Howell, and I am so glad you are here today. We have another one of those shows where we've got a brave soul, a digital marketer who is on with us today, and we are going to work through his brand story. His name is Temitayo Osinubi. I love that name, but we get to go by Timmy, right?
Right, I go by Timmy.
Welcome, and he's coming to us from Atlanta. Timmy and I met really online. We haven't met in person quite yet. He heard me, I think I was on Jay Baer's show at Convince and Convert. And then, thank goodness you came over. I've been listening to Business of Story. I've been an avid listener. I really appreciate all the sharing you've done on our behalf. It's helped us grow. We're nearing 20,000 downloads a month, and it's because of great listeners like you that are sharing it with your world. So I appreciate that. And Timmy, you had the courage to answer my call to arms out there that said, if you have a brand story that you would like to work live on Business of Story, then send me your thoughts. And you did. I sent you the workbook, the DIY workbook. You diligently and very quickly got through it to start finalizing your brand story. Today, we're going to bring it all together.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's an honor, and yeah, I attacked that thing. It was such an experience, and I'm really excited to get through it.
Well, that's good. It's 10 steps, and it does really kind of make you peel back the onion a little bit. I think it's as much as psychotherapy about you and your brand than it is about the features and functions of your brand. Would you agree with that?
I would absolutely agree with that, and it definitely made me think through some things that were kind of out in the ether. Like I knew it was there, I just couldn't give voice to it. But your story structure and the questions that you ask and the examples that you give really helped me, put voice to it. It's like you have something there, but you just can't quite put your hand on it, and it really helped materialize that process.
Well, and we are all so close to our stories, and I have the same challenge with Business of Story, too. I had my good friend Greg Head in here, who is the former VP of Marketing for Infusionsoft, helped them grow to $100 million, and his little secret weapon, his superpower is to help businesses focus. And he helped me really focus my story, too, the Business of Story being about purpose-driven business leaders to help them clarify their story so that they can grow their revenue and amplify their impact. And that's what my focus story is all about. And now I want to work on yours to get you dialed in. And tell me, why don't we start by you giving us a little bit of a backstory on where you've been, where are you now, where you're going. Let's set the stage for our listeners.
Absolutely. So my backstory is that I have not one, but 2 degrees in digital marketing. I first came to digital marketing to try to get away from name discrimination. When I first entered the workforce around 2003, 2004, I was having trouble getting hired because there are some less than enlightened HRs out there. If they cannot pronounce your name, they don't call you back.
Wow.
And so I'm like, you know what? screw this. It's 2004. I don't have to deal with this. I can just go online and make money. And then that, of course, led me headlong into network marketing, MLM, info marketing, whatever you want to call it. And I've been through every type of scheme and setup. And of course, like most people, failed through most of it. But through it all, I did manage to develop a very good business acumen. And those around me would still seek me out with their business endeavors. So one day, this was back in 2011, 2012, I was managing a local rap artist who's my friend from high school. I was making a post for the Greater Dayton Real Estate Investors Association, also known as GDRIA. I know sounds like a venereal disease, but it's not. And I was also doing a post for my mother who had just written a book. And so it hit me, it literally hit me like a cartoon anvil, that for as varied and disparate as all of these different business activities were, the one thing they all had in common besides me was the use of the internet for advertising and promotion. So I figured if I was going to be an internet marketer anyway, I may as well get good at it. But just due to my previous experience with gurus / mavens, whatever, I was very reticent against some individual claiming that it could make me the next rock star, after I paid them a couple $1,000s. So I was actually really refreshed when I found out there was an actual degree program in internet marketing from Full Sail University, which I went into, graduated in 2015. And then shortly after graduation, I got a job here in Atlanta at Cox Media Group. I was really, really excited because Cox Media Group is this, multinational conglomerate. They own television stations and radio stations. And I was going to be an SEM account manager. So basically the same small businesses that you would see in your Sunday paper or in the evening news, they would just take that ad spin and put it on Google. And so I started working there. I graduated in March of 2015. I started working in Cox May 2015, and they were not near as sophisticated as you would think they were. Like not even close. They weren't using Salesforce or any type of CRM. Everything was done in Excel, and they were in the process of getting their act together, but they did not have their act together yet. And it was very much so one of those, pay no attention to that man behind the curtain moment from The Wizard of Oz, because I'm thinking, okay, I'm official now. I'm a real digital marketer, and I'm at this huge company. And it was a very disenchanting process. And so
and what was the big bummer about it? What was it that really drug you down the most?
The one that really drug me down the most was I would have to say that there was no they were winging it. There was no plan. There was no foresight. I was going into it thinking that I was going to learn a lot, and that I was going to be mentored by someone who could, make me official, make me real. And they were kind of flying by the seat of their pants, and they were asking me to, bring my skills to the table, which was fine because, I was there to produce. But I went into it thinking that, okay, they're successful. They're this huge company. I'm going to learn a lot and I'm going to be groomed. And it was kind of, all hands on deck and let's just try not to crash and burn. And I was not prepared for that.
So, Timmy, let me ask you, you before this had been in the network marketing, direct sales, the multi-level marketing business. And I've had my fair share of clients that I've worked in that area, and I've seen really good opportunities and not so good opportunities. But quite often in that group, too, people are winging it and just not quite pulling it together. It sounds like you went from being an entrepreneur in that sort of industry, got trained in digital, and then went into Cox hoping that you were going to be leveled up across the board. And sounds like you kind of came across the same sort of thing. People just winging it and making it up as they go because, let's face it, the digital marketing realm is still pretty much of a pioneering area. I mean, it's really hard for people to get their heads around it. So you found yourself frustrated there. Then what happened?
Well, I left Cox, and then I published a book last year, 2016, called Beyond Buzzwords, and that was just to take a stance on professional education and digital marketing. And then we also, from there, I started consulting with small clients, just small local restaurants, naturopathic doctors, that sort of thing. But haven't had any breakout success as I would like with my small digital agency. And I'm in the process right now of trying to get more speaking engagements and really get myself out there as a thought leader.
So can I be frank? Are you basically calling bullshit on the digital marketing industry in that how it's taught or how people believe it should be done? I mean, your book, Beyond Buzzwords, Social Media, Mobile, and Other Marketing Buzzwords, ain't the half of it. It sounds like you're trying to cut through the BS and get down to saying, here's how it actually works. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. And I'm trying to give people... Really, I'm trying to give them a lens that they don't already have, because like most things, people come into it with certain assumptions. Like a big one is like when I first entered the degree program, like a lot of people, I equivocated digital marketing with social media. So if you told me you did digital marketing, I would think, oh, you do social media. And the analogy that I use is like digital marketing as a whole is much like the medical field in that there are it's very broad and there are several areas of specialization. So, you could be a heart surgeon, brain surgeon, OBGYN, whatever. And to say that, digital marketing and social media is like saying all of medicine is being a family doctor. Like there's a lot of other things that you can do besides that. And I just try to clear up a lot of the misconceptions, especially when it comes to education, because you have two schools of thought. You have folks who are like, just Google everything, and that can be not correct depending on your circumstances. And you have folks like myself who go to an institution of higher level, and depending on your circumstance or situation, that might not be the right move either. So it just depends on a lot of different variables. It's actually, like, to your point, it's actually rather complex. There's a lot of moving parts, and I was just trying to bring some clarity to the whole discussion.
Okay, so you are bringing this clarity in. You've been through this. You've had your own experiences learning from the School of Hard Knocks and from Full Sail University. Now, where do you want to take this?
I want to take this. I want to start speaking as primarily. I want to talk to aspiring young professionals. So individuals either leaving, they can be as young as 16, but all the way up to 24 who are looking to get into digital marketing professionally. But the downside, Jay Akunzo, who spoke at Social Media Marketing World, really smart guy. I had him on my show. He says that the downside of the information age is that there's a lot of bad advice and there's a lot of conflicting advice. And so I'm trying to reach young professionals in particular because our mutual friend, Jay Bear, he had on a lady, her name is Lysandra Brill. That's her name. He had her on a few weeks back, and she made a very profound statement in that AI is where social media was 10 years ago. And, that's very much true. Like AI and chatbots, all of that marketing technology that's coming down the pipe. And what CMOs are running into is that they don't have enough trained professionals to, take those positions, because there's a gap in professionalizing oneself. Because, let's be frank, let's get the elephant on out the room. A lot of people think that because they know how to use Facebook or Instagram, that qualifies them to be someone's social media manager, and it don't. And so what the situation or the climate that the industry finds itself in is that because not enough people respect digital marketing as a profession, they don't invest in professional skills. And so CMOs and other people are having a hard time filling certain roles. And so the role that I would like to play, I would like to be that sage, that giver of advice, to take you up the mountain and down the side safely, to say, hey, as I went through this experience, this is what I found, and, give a little guidance. Because, it is not let me say this up front. I want everybody to hear me clearly. It is not my position that everyone should go to college for internet marketing, not at all. But I do think that you do need to invest in some vocational training at the very least, because this is a profession and you need to respect it as such.
Okay. So this is great. We're going to dive right into the first chapter in your book, and that is you've given us the backstory, but now we want to try to understand your number one position in the marketplace. What do you do in the terms of features and functions better than anybody else? What is your specialty? And I shouldn't even say better. I should say different. What really makes you different? You know, borrowing from Sally Hogshead, who was on my show about a month ago, different is better than better. So let's think about that. And you went through the book and you did our little exercise there that asks you to answer 4 questions. So let's go right through it real quick. Number 1, let's go very high level, 50,000 foot. Temi, what industry are you working in?
I'll put communications.
You put the overall communications world. Okay, great. And that means anybody in communications, from AT&T to Pixar to large ad agencies to large digital firms to you and I are in the communications world. We agree with that, right? So
right.
Okay, good. Now we start trying to understand what's the category within the communications industry do you work in?
I put advertising, marketing, and diversity and inclusion.
Okay, so that's kind of interesting. We are trying to find our focus here, but you really offered up 2 different things. Advertising and marketing is one category. Diversity and inclusion is like a whole other kind of category, and maybe something that I would recommend you circle and you move it down potentially into your number 1 specialty. So let's hold on to that thought for a second. I think I know where you're going with this, but I don't know that it belongs right there. Right now, we want to know that you work in the advertising marketing world in the communications industry. Great. So now you see how our minds are focusing on what you offer. And it starts to help separate you and anybody else doing this process out from the millions of other people that are our competition, that are competing for mind share and share of heart, that we are trying to put a fine point on what it is you do. So what is your specialty within the advertising marketing world?
I bring clarity to those seeking to professionalize themselves in the industry of digital marketing.
What does that mean, you bring clarity? Are you a teacher, a consultant, a speaker? Can you get more specific on what that specialty is?
Okay.
See, you gave me a nice sentence, but it does not necessarily, I don't really know what to do with that sentence.
Right.
What I want to know is, what are you? Are you teacher, consultant, sage, what, in this area?
The one I want to be known as primarily is as a speaker, then as a trainer. So speaker, trainer, and then a trainer, I guess you could call a trainer, teacher.
Okay. So why don't we say speaker, trainer, teacher?
Right.
We'll just put,
teacher.
Yeah, it's essentially you're not going in and being hired out as an SEO expert or a content expert or whatever. You understand those disciplines, but what you're really trying to do is train these young professionals and get them vocationally ready and really understanding how they can be impactful out there and get them through the BS. So
yes.
Speaker, trainer, consultant.
Yes.
Okay.
Speaker, trainer, consultant.
We're going to put that down. All right. So, Temi, there are still a lot of you that are speaker, trainer, consultants in the advertising and marketing world, in the communications industry. So let's get even more refined. Are you specifically and only in the digital marketing realm?
Yeah.
Okay.
Specifically, digital marketing specifically, yeah.
So then maybe we should say that in the category. Maybe really your category is in advertising and marketing. Perhaps we should say digital marketing.
Okay.
And get you super focused. So in the communications world, you are in digital marketing. You are a speaker, trainer, consultant. So we're getting more of a specialty. That's great. But now we want to identify, what is your number 1 specialty? What do you do better, different than anybody else that really makes you unique? And you might think, too, at this point, to start with your purpose. Like I said, Business of Story is about helping people, purpose-driven people, understand and clarify that purpose-driven story, so then you can grow your revenue, amplify your impact. So, Temi, what is unique and different about what you have to offer that nobody else is offering?
I demystify the process and landscape of professional digital marketing education based on experience, not opinion or theory.
Okay, say that again.
All right. I demystified the process and landscape of professional digital marketing education based on experience, not opinion or theory.
Okay. It sounds like you said that before. Is this something, do you feel like that it has been around, this position for you? So you are coming in, you are the no holds barred, no BS digital teacher consultant.
Yes, that's what I aspire to be, and the reason I chose those words specifically is that there's a lot of thought leaders out there. Take a Gary Vaynerchuk, for example. In one of my podcast episodes, I want to say episode 10, I called Gary Vaynerchuk a male gynecologist when it comes to getting a degree in internet marketing, because he's very vocal about how he doesn't believe in getting degrees in student loan debt. And let's be frank, student loan debt is a problem, but especially when you're talking about access to capital to learn these things, I very much so disagree with him. And the reason I use the analogy of a male OBGYN is because I have 3 children by 2 different women, and all 3 of my children were delivered by male gynecologists. And my mid-child, Gabby, she had to be delivered via emergency C-section because her umbilical cord was wrapped around her head. So every time my ex would contract, Gabby's heart rate would drop like a stone because, she was essentially being strangled. Yeah. And so it was like a scene at a Grey's Anatomy park. I'm telling you, we were sitting there in the delivery room. Dr. Percy Fraser walks in, and he's flanked by 2 nurses and a couple orderlies. And he just eases up to my ex and says, "Hey, I know you wanted to go natural, but we're not able to do that right now. The baby's in distress. We're going to be in operations in the operating room in 5 minutes. Only 2 of you can go back. Pick which 2, and I'll see you in a few minutes." Turns around, walks out. And so, of course, we're all starting to freak out a little bit at this point because, we just got told the baby's in distress. Didn't tell us what was happening or why. He was just like, "We're going to be in surgery in 5 minutes." And so we pick which 2 of us is going to go back there. And 30 seconds later, a nurse comes in and says, "I'm going to get you guys ready for surgery. Which 2 of you are going back?" Gives us the gown and the stocking cap and all that. About a minute later, somebody comes in, wheels my ex out, gets her ready for surgery. 3.5 minutes later, we're standing in the hallway, ready to go into the operating room. And about 4 minutes and some change later, he was cutting. And they got the baby. Everything went well. And so when I call Gary Vaynerchuk a male gynecologist, I say that with a great deal of respect because it takes a lot of skill and expertise to be able to perform an emergency C-section safely and everything works out right. That being said, Dr. Percy Fraser is a man. Like, I don't care how many C-sections he's performed, how knowledgeable he is, he does not know what it feels like to have your belly slit and a person pulled out of you. Like, he just doesn't, right? He doesn't have the physiology for it. And so a lot of these Gary Vaynerchuks and other experts having these opinions about degrees in internet marketing, their opinions are based on an experience that they simply don't have. Whereas in that analogy, I would be a female gynecologist who has also had a C-section performed on me. So I can give it to you from both perceptions because, I have the scar to prove it. You know what I'm saying? I have the diploma and I have the student loan debt. So, and that's all I'm really trying to do. I'm not here to take shots. I'm just here to draw distinctions. And so people can make a decision, an informed decision for themselves, because in some situations it might not be the right case. And if that's the case, I'll say so. But just to say, oh, skip college and blank this and F that, because, Gary V likes his F bombs. It's like, with all due respect, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay. You know a lot, but you don't know what you're talking about because you've never actually been through the process. And I have.
Yeah, and you've had both sides of it, the School of Hard Knocks, as you said, and then the regular university education that you're still paying for. So there's a hard knock in there. And yet you then come out and are calling BS. So here's what I'd like to challenge you on. I love all that. I love that story and that analogy, by the way. And I want to even simplify what your number one position is. And I'm not even saying we're quite there yet, but this is just something I don't want you to get too romantic over. I just want to get down to features and functions. This whole demystifying the process, all that'll come. I think that's important. But right now, I wonder if you would agree with the statement that you're going to then have to back up through the rest of your brand story development. Is Temi is the #1 resource to teach you the reality of digital marketing to propel your career.
I love that. Yeah, teach you the reality of digital marketing. Yes.
Yeah. So it comes back to, it begs that question, well, what do you mean by reality? And that's where you look, I'm just not going to come blow a bunch of smoke and give you the buzzwords and just kind of, kindly take you through this. I'm going to, peel it back the onion, as you say, and say, here's what it's really about. This is what I've experienced, and here's what I know that works. Look I've got the war wounds. I've got the bruises, the bloodied noses. Let me show you what I've learned, which is actually a very powerful position to be working from, because your audience now is the hero, the center of the story, and you're simply the guide, the mentor who has been through it, and now you're going to show them what to do next. So let me just read that back to you one more time. Temi is the #1 resource to teach you the reality of digital marketing to propel your career. And propelling your career can work both ways. It could be those young professionals that are coming out. I also know that in your hero section, you also talked about the re-careering folks in their 40s and 50s that are looking to do something new, or getting out of the cubicle and trying something else. And of course, #3 in your audiences are those speakers, people hiring speakers. So there could be something really interesting in there, in that reality of digital marketing from a guy who's seen it on both sides of the tracks. Something.
Yes.
Let's keep that in the backs of our minds. All right.
Awesome.
Good stuff. We're moving into chapter 2. We've already identified that, and you did in your book, your 3 primary audiences. You already talked about the young professionals and saying, look, just don't get into this thing, listen to Gary Vaynerchuk, read some books, and all of a sudden you're a digital guru, because you're not. So get trained, approach it with eyes wide open. Just mentioned the re-careering folks, so they need to kind of go about that the same way too. And then the speakers, looking for those that would be looking for interesting speakers like you that would come in. And this is where you start talking about the diversity. It comes in a little bit. So I'm going to just make a note on diversity, but we're going to move ahead. Let's go to chapter 3 of the workbook. And this is what's at stake. So first and foremost, very, very quickly, in under a minute, what is at stake for you and your brand?
For me and my brand, you talking about the short term, the midterm, and the long term?
Yeah,
or just
like every story, you got to have stakes. You got to have something,
right.
And we don't need to hit all 3 of them, but just give us an overview of what is at stake. Why are you proceeding with this?
What's at stake is what's at stake is, why am I doing this? Well, actually one of the main reasons I got into this in the first place was I got tired of the bad advice, and so I was tired of seeing people be duped and taken advantage of, and So that's one of my, if I had to say why do I feel compelled to speak up, is because I got tired of the BS, and I got tired of, and this is a big one that a lot of the bad advice that's being spread is done unknowingly. So people get a hold of bad gurus or bad teachers, and then they go off and they, carry the gospel, not knowing that they're practicing black hat tactics. Like, for example, I didn't even know what a black hat was until I went to Full Sail University. And this is a true story. This is back when I was in Full Sail University. There was this guy who had, made a few bucks online. And of course, he started teaching other other real estate professionals how to, market their real estate businesses. And so I pay for it was like a $97 something. I pay for the course. I go to the thing because our Real Estate Investor Association had brought him in. And so I BSU not Park, in part of his presentation, he was telling people the keyword stuff. And I'm like, what? Like you that's not above board, right? And he didn't, what had happened was that he had gone to Warrior Form. He had purchased a product, started making money, and then of course the rules changed. But those gurus, those mavens, they don't ever go back and say, hey, this doesn't work anymore. They just continue to sell the product. And so he was, pushing bad information that he did not recognize as such, because his whole argument and the whole argument that the bad gurus would push is that, I was making money. I made money. Well, then, of course, Google had their Penguin update and their Panda update and a couple other, successive updates. And one of his clients wind up getting de-indexed and getting put in Google jail. And this is just rumors unsubstantiated. He actually got sued by a client because, they had paid him for this SEO. He did all of this black hat tomfoolery, and then their site got taken down. And he honestly did not know that he was doing anything wrong. Mm-hmm. He was just doing what the guru said to do. Mm-hmm. And stuff like that really pisses me off, because what they're doing is they're taking advantage of people's ignorance. Mm-hmm. And I did it as well. Like this happened to me as well. I would just, I would go on Warrior Form, or I'll go wherever, and I would take a course, and I would just go forth. Like, for example, let's talk about, I have a book, Ratings and Reviews. We're dying for reviews, like absolutely need them desperately. But if I were so inclined, I could go to Fiverr and pay people to review my book. Now, I don't do that because that's not above board, and I don't engage in such things. But the point I'm making is that there's a course out there teaching people how to do that. Like teaching people, like if you have an online product that you want to make look good, you go to Fiverr, you buy reviews, you buy clicks, you do this and you do that. And so, they go forth with it, they get a hold of these false prophets, let's call them, and they go forth spreading this black hat gospel that they don't even recognize as such. Mm-hmm. And so that's a problem that I think that not enough people are tackling, because like to your point, everything is very new. And I think when I talked to Scott Monty, he used the analogy of paving the road behind him. And so some of it is not malicious, but there are others who are fully aware of what they're doing, and they're actively preying on people's ignorance. And I don't like it. And it's happened to me before. And that's really, if I had to peel it all back, that's really why I do it. Cause I couldn't sit back any longer knowing what I know and watching people do this.
So you're really an activist. You're an activist for those seeking a career in digital.
Yeah, it's just really easy to be, I never thought about it like that, but yeah, because it's really easy to be taken advantage of because you don't know what you don't know. Mm-hmm. Especially if somebody comes to you and say, hey, you want to make money online. I make a lot of money online. Here's what I do. It's kind of like, let's say, for example, you're a 16-year-old boy and you're trying to find out about, the opposite sex, and, your father's out of the home and he's not around to show you. You might learn how to talk to girls from a pimp. Like not just somebody who's, fly and talk. No, I'm talking about actual putting women on a track pimp. Now, if scoring is what you're after, you're going to learn how to do that, but you're also going to pick up a lot of bad habits that you might not actually be aware of at the time you're learning. Because from my perspective, when I was in that whole sort of racket, from my perspective, I was just learning the game from somebody who knew the game. You know what I mean? It was like, it never dawned on me that I was engaged in black hat tomfoolery. Cause like I said, at the time, I didn't even know the term black hat, cause newsflash, black hats don't call each other black hats. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's a term that other people put on them, but they don't call each other black hats. They call each other gurus, and they call each other mavens. Right. And so you can wind up in this whole circus and not even know what's going on, because it's like, hey, I was just learning the game from somebody who knew the game. They were teaching me how to make money, not realizing that you're involved in pimping and human trafficking and all this other stuff. And so it's really easy. And it's very insidious. It's very insidious. It's really easy to, find yourself in this whole racket and not even really appreciate what it is that you're doing. And so, and I want to I want to stop, but I also want to honor it because, again, these folks who are doing this, it's not that they're bad people. It's not that they're looking to take advantage of it. They just got a hold of some bad information. Yeah. They got a hold of a bad guru, and they were just doing what they were taught.
Okay, Timmy, so let's move on. I get this. I get where you're coming from. You're an activist and an advocate for those in the digital world trying to move on. What's at stake is you are trying to demystify this. You're trying to show them what the real world is, what the real roads are to help them expand their careers and be successful on behalf of their clients too. So what's at stake for your audiences? And let's like that. What's the number one thing that's at stake for that young professional that you are trying to help them achieve?
I would say the number one thing that's at stake is their reputation. Because if they start doing some of these practices, it's not like how it was a couple years ago. If you get a client a Google penalty or de-indexed, you're done. Mm-hmm. And so what's at stake for them is really their reputation and their future career. And
I'm glad you said that. I put it before that, their digital reputation. It's just not their reputation as a human being, but it's their career, their professional reputation. I've been reading The Righteous Mind by Jonathan Haidt. It's really, really fabulous. And he talks in it about social proof and reputation as being one of the big drivers of our intuitive influences. A lot of the decisions that we make are based on how will it impact my reputation. And he has done a ton of studies on this. And why that's important is it all goes back to the survival of the being. Is if you take us way back on the savannah, that our reputation was important to keep us within the family, within the clan, within the group, because there was great protection in there. And we didn't want to do anything that would get us ostracized and thrown out and be on our own, because you don't survive very long on the savannah by yourself. Well, our reptilian brain and our intuitive senses are still making decisions on our behalf about how does this impact my reputation. And as Haidt says, it's only after we've made that intuitive decision coming from our reptilian brain that we create ad hoc reasons of why that's important. So I like the fact that you have boiled it down to an emotional impulse of what's at stake. Now, a lot of people would say, well, I want to become rich. I want to be the next Gary Vaynerchuk. I want to be, I want to be a top 5 whatever. But you went a little bit further and said, that's all well and good. That will come providing you have the reputation and the chops to get you there. So that's really is what is at stake. It's not just protecting their reputation, but advancing and being an advocate for their reputation, saying like, this person really has got it going on. That leads us into chapter 4. And what I love about this is, as you can see, and as you went through in the workbook, is story is all about continuing to find the story tension and amplifying that tension, because the greater the tension there is in a story, a brand story, and a market dynamic story or whatever, then the greater the outcome can be. So what I mean by that is in chapter 4 is about the call to adventure. This is the inciting incident. What has happened in the marketplace that's created this story tension that is a disruptive force that you, Temi, are there to help bridge this gap for your audiences, which makes you more timely, relevant, and urgent than any other offering out there. So what has happened in the marketplace that makes you the go-to guy right now for what you're selling?
I would say the disruptive force will be the uncollege movement. That, as we alluded to, there's an actual movement to folks. Hey, don't go to college, just go to Google, because student loan debt is a problem. It's out of control. You can get the information other places for free, and I think that's profoundly bad advice, and especially if you're a minority, because when you want to talk about access to capital and do you have the capital means to actually get a hold of this information. And I talk a lot about this on my podcast. I mean, yes, take Take funnel hacking, for example, right? Mm-hmm. If you take a service like ClickFunnels, they have a conference called Funnel Hacking Live at Full Sail University. They just call that your final project, right? Like, there's a little bit more to it. You have to do the whole SWOT analysis and write a persona and a marketing brief and do the whole thing. But long story short, it's equivocal information. If you can funnel hack as described by Russell Brunson, you pass, right? You get your diploma. And Funnel Hacking Live It's in Dallas, Texas, and it's about $1,000. You can get it cheaper if we're early bird pricing, but it's between $1,000 and $1,200 depending on when you buy it. And so that does not include your flight. That doesn't include your hotel, Uber back and forth, eating out. And so after you add all of that stuff back in, you're looking at $3,000 to $5,000 to attend that conference, depending on where you fly in from. And then of course, Russell Brunson has his VIP inner circle, whatever you want to call it, and that training can be upwards of $10,000. So even though, yes, you can learn funnel hacking from Russell Brunson for a lot less than Full Sail University, you got to have Russell's money up front. Like there's no tuition program. There's no student loan. Either you have Russell's $15,000 or you don't.
Got it. So what is it? Is it not an investment that's worth it?
It is an investment that's worth it. Absolutely. If you have the money. And that's why I think that to just say, don't go to college, go to Russell Brunson. If you don't have his money, what are you going to do? Mm-hmm. So like if you don't have the money, you might want to listen to what Sally Mae has to say, because that's the reason that I ultimately made the decision that I made, is that because yes, there are options. Yes, there's our alternatives, but I don't have $15,000. So I need that option of a student loan. Are you overpaying? It depends. Like what's the use of having it cheaper if you don't have the money?
Okay. So let me ask you this. Where do you come in this whole picture?
I come in having the options, like again, to basically say, don't go to college, go to ClickFunnels or whatever. That can be a good option if you're able to take advantage of it, but you're not going to know that unless you know what you're getting into.
So do people come to you like a career counselor?
I guess you could put it that way. I've never really thought of it that way, but well, yeah. Now that you say it out loud, I guess so. A career counselor would be the best way to put it. Because
a digital career counselor?
Yeah, a digital career counselor, because again, it all goes back to what are you trying to do, where are you trying to go, and what's gonna get you there.
And what products and services do you offer as a digital career counselor? And by the way, what is the name of your brand?
Marketing Disenchanted.
Okay, let's go there for just a second. Marketing Disenchanted. Why that particular name?
Because of that, pay no attention to that man behind the curtain feeling. It's something that just really resonated with me. And I think that a lot of people find themselves who try to teach themselves or who are trying to break into this field, find themselves disenchanted and confused. And I want to lead them past that, because like Jay Akunzo said, there's a lot of conflicting advice. There's a lot of bad advice, and it can just really, you can find yourself overwhelmed very quickly, especially if you're older. I find, because like somebody like in my mom's age, she wants to get involved, but she kind of throws her hands up because it's all a lot to digest. And so it can be a very, digital marketing, if you're coming into it new, can be a very disenchanting process.
Okay, so that's the negative emotion that you are playing off of, that you are trying to enchant them. You're trying to show them that actually you can do this. So now you've got a brand name that's quite negative. Does that really work for you? Now your platform, your communications platform is, all about getting you, bridging that gap from being disenchanted to enchanted in a career that you can actually build in all the right ways and be one of the really good folks out there and stand out in the crowd. So Marketing Disenchanted is something that you experience. It's something that other people experience, but in and of itself as a name is not a real positive name. It doesn't give me a place to go. Have you considered that, or how is that particular name working for you?
I had not considered that. No, that's just the name I put to my podcast, and I just kind of went with it. But you're right. Now that you voice it like that, there definitely needs to be somewhere you go after your disenchantment. Yeah, because that's the tension in the market you're playing off of. Of all these other things that are happening, don't go to college, don't get the debt. You can do this yourself. You can do a DIY course, watch some Google videos, pay some of the other quote-unquote gurus. You may or may not get the right advice. But if you come to Temi will tell you like it is, and what are the programs and the services that you offer? How do you make money in this particular realm? What are you selling? I sell a book. I also have a $97 course on Teachable, on digital discernment, on how to make sense of the whole landscape. And then I'm available for private consult, like for a 30-minute Skype call, an hour Skype call that they can book me for my time.
And the people that are booking you, are these, again, these young professionals or these re-careerers that are trying to figure out what they want to do in the digital world?
Right. Primarily young professionals. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we know, too, that you want to fire up your speaking
Yes.
career. So you want to be able to talk about this. So if you got down to your unique value proposition in all of this, now why this is important, and it happens in chapter 4 here, is it starts taking the words that you initially used in your number one position statement of demystifying this, and it starts actually using those words in your unique value proposition to humanize what we talked about in your number one position. And your number one position, we kind of rewrote to say Temi is the number one resource. Where did I write that down? I wrote that down here somewhere. Is the number one resource to teach you the reality of digital marketing to propel your career. So that's very functional, and it says exactly what you do. Teaches the reality. And I think that line could even be fine-tuned a little bit more. But now let's move it up into your unique value proposition. Everything I've been hearing, you're an activist working as an advocate on behalf of digital professionals to help them truly understand the world that they're getting themselves into so that they can operate at their highest capabilities.
Right. Yeah. That I'm writing as you're talking. Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
And you demystify digital to help people create powerful careers.
Mm-hmm.
You are, instead of a guru of digital or a mystic of digital, you are the demystic of digital. You are the mystic there that help demystifies what digital is all about so people really understand what that is.
Right. Yes.
You know,
bring clarity.
So, yeah. So how can you get to a unique value proposition, which is now bringing more humanity into your number one position of being this go-to guy that's going to tell you the way it is? You know, it's almost, think of it as a tagline, or think of it as a short, brief little line.
I bring clarity and guidance to the process of becoming a professional through books, online courses, and podcasts.
Well, I wouldn't even get into that as far as the function of what you do. Let's just say what it is you make. You know, or what is it you make happen? It's not about what you make. You make books and you make consulting and you make speaking, but what do you make happen in people's lives?
Give them direction. I would say, yeah, I give them direction, and
you demystify digital, as you said before.
Yeah, demystify digital, give them a direction and purpose and a plan that they can follow.
Yeah, demystify digital for a clear career path.
For a clear career path, yes.
So I'm just writing this down. Demystifying digital for a clear career path, because it really is. It's not that you're out there working with clients and helping them on their own digital. You are truly a career counselor helping people understand digital so that they can level themselves up, right?
Right.
And then, so, and I'm not sure if that's even the perfect one yet, but see how concise and simple it is. Temi,
yes,
demystifies digital for a clear career path, for your clearest career path, something like that. Keep it as simple as possible. It's not what you make, but it's what you make happen in people's lives. That's when we get into, you know, the next phase. We're not going to spend a lot of time here on because we don't have that much time, but it is called Villains, Fog, and Crevasses. It's what is everybody up against? What are you up against as a brand? Timing, you know, accessibility, breaking through that diversity thing in speaking so that they have more folks. And you said in your notes to me, literally more Black folks talking about digital in the speaking circuit. So there's a real tension there that you want to be working on, which is great, by the way. That means that you can really stand out in that market. Fog, what do people don't know that they don't know? And it sounds like everything that you are doing in the digital world is all about clearing away the fog for them, their blind spots in what that career actually means. And so you are showing them through your offering. And then finally is the crevasses. What are the gaps in their story, in their career goals that you help bridge through what you have to offer? And you've already identified a lot of these gaps. You know, don't go to college, listening to the false prophets, the gurus that just have not been down in the trenches to truly know what's going on these days. Much like the network marketing industry too, I might add. The digital realm and the gurus, the social media gurus, everybody trying to sell you a course and motivation and that kind of thing, man, that comes right out of the network marketing and direct sales world. So you do have to be very careful who you listen to out there. A lot of times the showman is much better than the show. So you've got all of this that's actually working in your favor as that demystic of digital, the guy that's going to be there, your advocate, your guide, your activist, to make sure that we demystify digital for a clear career path. So having said that, it's really important for all of you out there listening to get very crystal clear on who what the obstacles and who the antagonists are in your story. Don't fear them. Don't shy away from them. I want you to embrace these challenges because it's more story tension, and the more tension you have, the greater your offering resonates. So moving into chapter 6, enter the mentor. And man, if you are the example of a mentor like I've never heard before, Temi. You are there as that advocate, as that activist on behalf of your customers. What is the emotional promise you want them to get? That one word, the emotional promise that you help them achieve when they interact with you.
Clarity.
Clarity. Now, is that an emotion?
Emotion.
Clarity's a thing. What do you get from clarity?
A thing.
Let's take that a little bit deeper.
Peace. You get when you're clear. You have peace.
You have peace of mind.
Peace of mind.
Is it, could you even go even a little bit further? Because peace is like, this feels great. Peace of mind. I think that's a part of it. What about confidence?
There we go. That's better.
You have this emotion that like, God, you know what? I've been listening to all these people out there. I'm trying to figure out, I don't know who is who and what is what. But when I listen to Temi and I go through his program and I talk to the people he's helped, what do I ultimately get emotionally? I get this like enriched confidence.
Yeah.
Isn't that what you strive for?
So. Yes, enriched confidence. Yes.
And you hear I hear confidence in your voice. I've never met you, but you come across and on your podcast too as a very confident guy. So, what drives you internally is to go out and right the wrongs of what's happening in the digital world. And that takes a great deal of personal confidence to make that happen. And you really want, I would imagine, to project that onto your customers, to make sure that they have the confidence they made the right decision to hire you. And after you're done working with them, that they leave with this confidence of, man, I've got Temi in my court. He's in my corner. I got like the Jedi Knight digital dude helping me to steer my career in the correct way.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So then let's ask, what is the gift? So if confidence is the one word that they leave with and that emotion, I just have this confidence in myself. What is the gift you give them? Again, this kind of harkens back to this, not what you make, but what you make happen in their lives.
The gift I give them, I wrote down candor. I wrote down respectful candor, but thinking through it, I would say if I project confidence, the gift I would give them would be decisiveness.
Decisiveness. That's interesting.
Yeah, because before they came to me foggy, I cleared away the fog, and now they're ready to go forth and make a decision.
Decisiveness. That's interesting. Hold on to that thought too, because that also plays into the emotion of confidence. That decisiveness gives them the confidence to do it. Begging from a great story, Star Wars. What did Obi-Wan and Yoda, both mentors and guides to Luke Skywalker, what was the gift that he gave, that those two worked on and transferred to Luke?
They showed him how to use the Force.
They showed him how to use the Force. So you don't have to have the answer to this on this show because we're running out of time, but what is your version of the Force?
Yeah, my version of the Force. I have to write that question down and chew on it. Yeah.
What is your version of the Force? I like the idea of the emotion of confidence. I'm confident being around him. And when I leave, I've got this force, this gift that Temi has given me, has educated me on, that now I stand a little taller. I'm different than those that are looking for jobs out there because I've been leveled up in some way. So I want you to think about that. And then the third thing in this part of Chapter 6 of the Story Cycle Process, when it's all about Enter the Mentor, it's about the brand, is the brand personality. And you went through the Carl Jungian archetypes. There's 12 primary archetypes. And which archetype did you arrive on and why?
I arrived at the sage.
Okay. And why the sage?
Because the sage is a guide, and like you said, your Yoda, your Obi-Wan Kenobi. I was actually thinking of Obi-Wan when I picked the sage, because that's the role that I want to fill, is that, I'm showing you your path. That's
great. And I think it works really well with, especially after everything you've already told us on the show here. And if you were to have a supporting archetype to that, one other personality that may not be quite as dominant, but is certainly hanging with you, what might that be?
The secondaries I picked were the innocent and the hero.
Yeah, I love it. I love it, because the innocent is what you see is what you get, man. And there's no BS here. And the hero is not like you're pounding your chest, but it's like, no, I'm here to help you get what you want, to fix the rights, or to fix the wrongs into rights, to do justice by people and to help them get it. So overcoming, the false gurus out there and so forth. Great. There's more to the process, and we don't have time to go into it now. And a lot of that has to do with understanding your customer's journey from brand awareness to brand adoption to brand appreciation, what stories you tell on that. And you've worked through all of that in the book. I commend you for already doing that. We're not going to cover it here. What I would like to cover, the very last question, takes us to Chapter 9, is the moral of the story. Now, a brand story, like any story, has a moral, has a fundamental truths to it, both about the people, about the organization, about the world at large. And, I call this, and people call it, the brand purpose. Why do you exist to help people do what? When you exist beyond making money, the money will find you, the money will come. As a purpose-driven leader, what do you exist to do? What is your purpose?
To demystify digital, to help people pick a clear career path.
Yeah. And I think that's it. And it comes right out of everything else that you wrap together around this. And I really would encourage you, Temi, to go back and rethink your Marketing Disenchanted for your overall brand. Now, that could remain your podcast name. It's a cool name. It talks about what you do, and how you are there as the demystic of digital, the guy that's going to demystify him. I'm actually kind of the anti-guru, because I am here to truly open your eyes to what is available out there. But that's all very powerful. The sage is a very powerful guide archetype. Everything you're doing, this demystification, I'd like you to think about, what could you call your overall offering? Keeping Marketing Disenchanted as your podcast, but how can you make it more positive and give somebody a brand name that they can visualize themselves living into? You know what I mean? It creates a clearing and opening in their life through your services, that when they apply what you teach them, they level up through your gift, through the force that you give them. They have the confidence now to take on the world, the digital realm out there, and they have the properties that it will require someone to be truly different. And in this case, better, leveled up, because they understand what the digital landscape truly, truly is.
Awesome. I can do that. Yeah. I'm kicking around names in my head as you're speaking, but yeah. Yeah. I'm liking where this is heading.
All right. Well, we're at the top of the hour, and I really appreciate all the time and the stories you brought to this, and the fact that we could help you as a purpose-driven leader, clarify your story, hopefully lead to greater revenue for you so you can absolutely amplify your impact across the digital realm. Any parting words for us, Timmy?
Just thank you. Thank you so much for not only this podcast, but for the opportunity to work through it. I feel now how I want other people to feel when I'm done with them. Like I have a lot of clarity. I still have work to do, and I have a lot of things that I need to digest. But this feeling that I have now is the feeling that I want to give other people. So all I can say is thanks. So I greatly appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Timmy. And I appreciate you having the courage to come on and work through this with me. It's been a lot of fun, and I cannot wait to see the kind of impact you're going to have on people's lives out there. So congratulations on what you're doing.
Thank you, sir.
And I'd like to thank you all for listening to this special edition of Business of Story. If you like what you're hearing, please jump over to iTunes, give us a rating, give us a review, share us with your world. We greatly appreciate it. If I can answer any questions about you and your brand story and help you clarify it, shoot me a note over at park@businessofstory.com. We can also potentially set up a 30-minute call that I guarantee you I can get you clear, at least starting to clarify your story in 30 minutes or less. That's how powerful the story cycle system is. And it's great fun to work it. And when I get to work with wonderful folks like Temi and help you all bring your story together to have and amplify the impact of the world, man, that's what makes it all worthwhile for me. So shoot me a note or visit me at businessofstory.com, where I've got other shows and lots of tools for you to start clarifying your story so that you can really stand out in the world. Thanks for listening, and join us next week when we will have another amazing guest like Temi on the show. And until then, have a wonderful life.